Hey guys, tonight we're drifting back to the heart of the Andes, to an empire built on clouds and stone. Picture this, it's pre-dawn in Cusco, the navel of the Inca world. You're curled under a coarse ichu-grass blanket, in a small, windowless stone room, your breath misting in the chilly air. Outside, a conch shell trumpet echoes a sound like a foghorn filtered through ancient seashells, signaling the city's waking. You shuffle upright, your muscles groaning from yesterday's labor. A single beam of moonlight slices through the doorway, illuminating dust motes dancing like tired fireflies. Remember yesterday's quinoa harvest? Your back certainly does. Let's be honest. You'd trade a week's worth of chicha beer for a memory foam mattress right now. You definitely wouldn't survive the Inca alarm clock system, so before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment below, telling me where you're listening from and what time it is there. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. You lurch to your feet. The packed earth floor cold under your bare soles. The air smells of wood smoke, wet stone, and wet llama. Turns out, llama fur has a distinct, earthy scent. When damp like a wool sweater left in the rain, you pull on a yunpu, a knee-length tunic woven from rough alpaca wool. It's scratchier than a cheap hotel towel, but surprisingly warm. Outside, the sky is a deep indigo, stars still blazing fiercely in the thin mountain air. Cusco's terraced streets hum with quiet activity, shadowy figures carrying baskets. The clink of bronze tools, the low murmur of Quechua. You join a stream of laborers heading toward the hills. Today's task is maintaining the Andeans, those iconic stepped terraces clinging to mountainsides like giant staircases for the gods. As you walk, you pass the Coricancha, the temple of the sun. Even in pre-dawn gloom, its walls shimmer faintly. Popular fact, it was once sheathed in solid gold. Obscure twist, the Incas believed gold was the sweat of the sun, not a currency. Priests inside chant softly, their voices blending with the trickle of water in ritual channels. You glimpse a Coya noblewoman being carried past on a litter, draped in vivid vicuña, while her attendants scattering dried petals. Cue a light joke. Her perfume ground orchid roots and mountain herb smells nicer than wet llama. At least. The path steepens. Breathing at 11,000 feet feels like sucking air through a clogged straw. Modern comparison. Imagine running on a treadmill set to Everest mode. You reach your assigned terrace. The stonework is staggering, massive blocks fitted together. Tighter than a jigsaw puzzle, no mortar needed. Your foreman, a Caraca local administrator, hands you a bronze champi hoe-like tool. Today, we clear the drainage channels, he says, pointing to narrow grooves designed to prevent soil erosion. During downpours, it's backbreaking, meticulous work. Historians still debate whether this labor was a mandatory tax meta or a deeply ingrained communal duty. You scrape away silt, your fingers numb. Suddenly, a runner Achaski bursts onto the terrace. Pathy's lean, breathing hard, a quipu knotted cord record dangling from his belt. He whispers urgently to the Curaca, who nods gravely. News travels fast on the royal roads. Was it a border skirmish? A landslide blocking a key route? Or just the Sapa Inca craving fresh lucuma fruit from the coast? Gentle humor, ancient food delivery, anxiety. The mystery hangs as the first golden rays of Inti, the sun god, spill over the peaks, painting the stones warm amber. Your stomach rumbles. Breakfast, a humble mash of boiled oca tubers and a sip of lukewarm chichicant, comes soon enough. You wipe sweat, or is it dew? From your brow, squinting at the awakening valley below. This empire runs on stone, sweat, and systems so precise they'd make a Swiss watchmaker weep. And your day has only just begun. The conch shell sounds again, this time, a shorter, sharper blast that means one thing: breakfast. You straighten your aching back and join the shuffling line of workers heading toward the communal eating area. The morning air is still crisp, but the sun has begun to warm the stones underfoot. Someone ahead of you yawns loudly, and it's contagious. Soon half the line is stifling yawns. Turns out, yawning was just as unstoppable in the 15th century as it is today. You're handed a wooden bowl filled with steaming quinoa porridge, flecked with dried kiwicha grains and a drizzle of honey from the highland bees. It's thick, nutty, and surprisingly filling like oatmeal, if oatmeal had been perfected by a civilization that worshipped the earth. A fellow laborer nudges you and points to a small clay jar. Charqui, they say. You peer inside. Strips of dried llama meat, salted and cured in the mountain air. Think Inca beef jerky, but leaner, and with more altitude-induced personality. You take a cautious bite. It's chewy, smoky, and just a little gamey, definitely an acquired taste, as you eat. You overhear Tamita workers debating the best way to store potatoes. One insists on burying them in layers of straw, while the other swears by stacking them in circular pits called calcas. Asterisk, fun fact, the Incas developed over 4,000 varieties of potatoes, including some that could freeze-dry naturally into chuno, a lightweight, long-lasting survival food. Asterisk, a third worker chimes in, laughing. You city folk worry too much. Just leave them in the ground until you need them. The Caraca claps his hands, breakfast is over, and the real work begins. Today's task: repairing a section of the Andeans, damaged by last week's rains. You're handed a woven basket filled with smaller stones, which you'll use to reinforce the terrace walls. The technique is methodical. Each rock must fit snugly against its neighbor, with no gaps. Modern comparison, it's like playing Tetris. But if the blocks weighed 20 pounds each, and the game never ended. As you work, you notice something odd. Some of the stones have small, carved notches. You ask about them, and an older worker grins. Those are the whispers of the ancestors, he says. The stones remember where they belong. Historians still argue whether these markings were practical construction guides, or part of a deeper spiritual belief in the living earth. By mid-morning, your arms are sore, but the rhythm of the labor is almost meditative. The sun is high now, and the terraces hum with activities. Some workers hauling dirt, others planting young quinoa shoots, a few singing softly in Quechua. Then, a commotion. A messenger arrives, breathless, announcing that the Sapa Inca's inspectors are coming to review the harvest records. The Caraca barks orders, and suddenly everyone is moving faster, smoothing dirt, straightening baskets. You're handed a quipu, a tangled-looking knot of colored cords, and told to look busy. Gentle humor, ancient paperwork panic is universal. You stare at the quipu, baffled. The knots and colors must mean something: taxes owed, crops stored, maybe even the number of llamas in the imperial herds. But to you, it just looks like a very determined spider's web. The worker beside you chuckles. Don't worry, they whisper. Even the accountants take years to learn it. Then, just as the tension peaks, a horn sounds in the distance. The inspectors are here. The Caraca straightens his tunic and steps forward, ready to present the records. You clutch the quipu like a lifeline, hoping no one asks you to explain it. And then another horn, louder, closer. Wait, that's not the inspectors. That's the lunch signal. The collective relief is palpable. The Caraca sighs, shakes his head, and waves everyone toward the shade of a nearby calca storehouse. The crisis is postponed for now. You set down the quipu, rub your sore hands, and follow the crowd, because in the Inca Empire, even bureaucrats have to eat. The lunch break is a welcome respite, and you find yourself sitting cross-legged in the shade of a towering calca storage building. The thick stone walls keep the interior cool, even at midday. An ancient Andean version of air conditioning. Someone passes around a clay jug of chicha morada, a sweet purple corn drink flavored with cloves and cinnamon. It's refreshing, with just enough tartness to cut through the dust in your throat. Fun fact, this non-alcoholic version was the Inca equivalent of Gatorade, perfect for rehydrating after a morning hauling rocks. As you sip, you watch the quipu keepers huddle together, fingers flying over their knotted cords, like accountants. At tax season, one of them, a wiry man with a permanent squint, notices your curiosity and beckons you over. Want to see how it works? He asks, holding up a particularly complex set of strings. You nod, and he begins pointing out the patterns: yellow cords for gold, green cords for crops, red cords for, well, Let's just say it's not good news for some village up north. Obscure detail. Some knots even recorded time like an ancient spreadsheet, with built-in calendar reminders. You're about to ask how they keep track of everything when a commotion erupts outside. A group of Chaski's runners has arrived, their chests heaving from sprinting up the mountain at full speed. One of them unfurls a small woven pouch and hands it to the Karaka. Inside, a single perfect coca leaf. The room goes silent. Dramatic pause. Modern comparison. It's like getting a VIP invitation, texted directly from the CEO. The Karaka clears his throat. The Sapa Inca's retinue will pass through tomorrow, he announces. We are to prepare the guest quarters and double the chicha production. A murmur ripples through the workers. Preparing for royalty isn't just about cleaning, it's about perfection. The terraces must gleam, the storehouses must overflow, and the roads, absolutely free of llama dung. You're assigned to a team tasked with inspecting the Tambo's way stations along the Royal Road. These weren't just pit stops, they were meticulously stocked inns, spaced a day's walk apart, with food, blankets, and even spare sandals for imperial travelers. Historians still debate whether this was unmatched hospitality or the world's first all-inclusive resort chain. As you hike the winding path, you notice something odd. Small stone markers carved with symbols. Your guide explains they're Apachitas offerings to the mountain spirits. Travelers would add a pebble to the pile for good luck. You pick up a smooth rock and add yours to the stack. Asterisk, gentle humor. Consider it the 15th century version of leaving a Yelp review for the Andes. Asterisk, by sunset, you've checked 3 bows. Sampled yesterday's chuno stew verdict. Edible, if you're starving, and nearly twisted your ankle on a loose stone. Just as you're about to head back, a shout echoes from further down the trail. A runner is coming, but this one isn't carrying a message. He's herding llamas. A whole train of them loaded with bundles of vivid vicuna wool. The finest in the empire. The animals plod along, their long lashes blinking lazily, completely unfazed by the altitude. Fun fact, llamas were the Inca semi-truck strong, stubborn, and prone to spitting if annoyed. The lead handler grins at your stunned expression. For the Sapa Inca's new tunics, he says, patting a particularly fluffy white llama. He likes his clothes soft. As the llamas pass, one pauses to sniff your hand, then promptly loses interest. You can't blame it. You're sweaty, dusty, and probably smell like old siharki back in camp. The chicha brewers are already stirring massive vats of fermenting corn. The air smells yeasty and sweet, like a bakery crossed with a frat house. Someone hands you a cup of the fresh batch. It's cloudy, fizzy, and strong. Gentle warning, Inca OSHA definitely did not regulate workplace drinking. You take a cautious sip, then another by the third sip. Even the idea of tomorrow's royal inspection doesn't seem so daunting after all. How bad could it be? The pre-dawn chill seeps into your bones as you're shaken awake. Today is the day. The Sapa Inca's entourage will arrive by midday, and the entire valley is in a state of controlled chaos. You're handed a broom made of bundled twigs and assigned to the road clearing detail. Pro tip, sweeping dirt paths at 12,000 feet is the Inca version of cardio. As you work, you notice children scattering flower petals along the route, while older women inspect every stone in the pavement, plucking out weeds with the precision of surgeons. A nearby quipu keeper mutters numbers under his breath, doing last-minute inventory checks. Suddenly, a shout echoes from the watchtower. They've been spotted. The road erupts into frantic final preparations. You're pulled into a line of workers, forming a human fence along the route. Someone thrusts a woven banner into your hands. Awkward realization. You have no idea which way to hold it. A soft chuckle comes from your left. It's the chicha brewer. From last night, still smelling faintly of corn mash. Just follow my lead, she whispers. Then you hear it first, the distant thump of drums, then the haunting whistle of bone flutes. Finally, the rhythmic stomp of hundreds of sandaled feet. The royal procession crests the hill like a living tapestry. Nobles, in vivid tunics. Priests in feathered headdresses. And at the center, carried on a litter draped in scarlet cloth, ... him, the Sapa Inca. Fun fact, his title literally meant the only Inca no pressure. Up close, he's both more and less imposing than you imagined. His posture is regal, but his face looks tired. The gold disc on his forehead, the mascopy gleams in the sunlight, marking his divine status. As his litter passes, you catch a whiff of something unexpected: chocolate. Not the sweet modern kind, but the bitter, spiced zocoladal, reserved for elites. Historical mic drop. The Incas were one of the first to mix chili peppers with cacao. Suddenly, a sharp gasp ripples through the crowd. One of the banner carriers ahead of you has dropped. His flag, the music stutters. The Sapa Inca's gaze flicks toward the sound. Time freezes. Then miraculously a priest begins chanting, drawing attention back to the procession. The moment passes. The offender is swiftly pulled into the crowd, his face pale. Scholars still argue whether such mistakes were punishable by death, or just really awkward demotions. As the procession moves toward the ceremonial plaza, you're reassigned to food service. The royal kitchens are a blur of activity. Teams of women grind maize on flat stones. Boys turn spits of roasting guinea pigs kai. Brewers strain chicha through fine clothier, put in charge of distributing clay cups of a frothy purple drink ramp made from cactus fruit. It stains your fingers magenta. Gentle warning. This is why Inca nobles had purple teeth in portraits. During a lull, you peek into the plaza where the Sapa Inca sits on a low golden stool. An official kneels before him, unrolling a quipu that stretches longer than a man is. Tall. The ruler listens intently, occasionally nodding. Then, something remarkable happens. He laughs. A deep, genuine sound that surprises even his attendants. The tension breaks. Musicians strike up a livelier tune. Dancers begin whirling in intricate patterns. You find yourself swaying along, still holding your pitcher of purple juice. That's when you notice her, a noblewoman watching from the shadows. Her elaborate braids are threaded with lapis beads, and her tunic shimmers with hummingbird feathers. She catches your stare and ... winks. Before you can react, a kitchen worker rams into you. "Stop gawking and serve," she hisses, thrusting another tray of cups into your hands. You comply, but your mind races. Who was she? Why the secrecy? And most importantly, does this mean you're in some kind of Inca romantic subplot now? The feast stretches into nightfall, the plaza now illuminated by hundreds of oil lamps that flicker like trapped fireflies. You're elbow deep in washing clay cups when a hand grips your shoulder. It's the Caraca, his breath sweet with chicha. You, the Sapa Incas, astronomer, requires an assistant. Before you can protest, you're ushered up a narrow stairway to the rooftop observatory. The night air is razor sharp with cold, the stars unnervingly bright at this altitude. A wiry old man in a pumaskin cloak stands before a strange stone apparatus, the Intihuatana, a carved rock pillar used to track celestial movements. Fun fact, this wasn't just a calendar, it was the Inca GPS, aligning with solstices to guide crop cycles and rituals. The astronomer, Apu Quilla, Lord Moon, barely glances at you before barking orders. Hold this bronze mirror to catch Venus reflection count, aloud, as he adjusts the Yaninton dual-weighted measuring cord. Most importantly, don't sneeze, you soon realize why. The calculations are precise enough that even a tremor could throw them off. Modern comparison: imagine doing astrophysics while balancing on a tightrope as you work. Apu Quilla mutters about Coiler's mischief, the Inca name for Mercury's erratic orbit. Suddenly, he freezes. The mirror in your hand catches a streak of light across the sky. "APU," you whisper. He shakes his head. "Just a Chaska shooting star." But his bony finger traces a constellation Yacana, a celestial llama whose belly holds the Milky Way's dark patches. The stars say drought comes. Before you can ask how llama-shaped stars predict weather, footsteps echo below. The mysterious noblewoman from earlier emerges onto the rooftop, her feathered headdress now replaced by a simple wool mantle. Apu Quilla doesn't seem surprised. "Sister," he says. Plot twist. She's the Coya the Sapa, Inca's principal wife, and high priestess of the moon cult. She studies the stars, and you. Can he keep secrets? Apu Quilla grunts. He hasn't dropped anything yet. Coya produces a small gold vial from her sash. The Quito delegation brought this. Inside swirls a thick, iridescent liquid, chapta, a rare mercury gold, amalgam used for gilding tombs. You guess. They both stare at you. Gilding messages, the Coya corrects. Written on thin, hammered gold, folded smaller than a coca leaf. Melted after reading, asterisk, historical mic drop. The inkers had disposable elite spam mail. Apu Quilla takes the vial with trembling hands. This changes the quipu codes. Below, the feast's noise has dulled to murmurs. Dawn isn't far off. The Coya presses something into your palm, a single-dried Malu spondylus shell, carved with a tiny labyrinth pattern. For silence, she says, then both vanish down the stairs, leaving you alone with the stars, a forbidden secret, and one burning question. How does one casually bribe a time-traveling peasant anyway? Dawn finds you bleary-eyed, clutching the mysterious shell in your pocket as you're herded back to kitchen duty. The plaza now resembles the aftermath of a particularly enthusiastic festival. Scattered corn husks, overturned chicha jars, and at least 3 nobles snoring under a pile of vicuna blankets. A kitchen worker thrusts a steaming gourd into your hands. Drink, it'll help. The bitter liquid inside tastes like burnt grass, and regret might de coca, an altitude sickness remedy. Asterisk, pro tip, this is why Inca porters could haul 50-pound loads up mountains without passing out. Asterisk, as the fog in your brain clears, you notice something odd. The quipu keepers are gone, vanished, in their place. A team of stone-faced Alu elders huddle around the Sapa Inca's now empty litter, running fingers over its carvings like detectives at a crime scene. You're about to investigate when plop, a fat raindrop hits your forehead, then another. Within seconds, the dry season sky has opened up in a torrential downpour. Workers scramble to cover food stores with woven mats as the elders shout about Apu Quilla's warning. Historical irony, the drought-predicting astronomer accidentally summoned a storm. You take shelter under a kalka awning next to a group of Akla-chosen women spinning wool. Their fingers never stop moving, even as they gossip in low voices. The Quito delegation brought more than gold vials. They brought a princess. The Sapa Inca's favorite llama refused to eat this morning, a dire omen. Someone saw Apu Quilla burning Kiru cups at midnight. You're straining to hear more when thunder cracks directly overhead. The Akla gasp, not at the noise, but at what it reveals. High on the hillside, a lone figure stands, arms raised in the storm. The Coya, her soaked mantle clings to her as she chants toward the thunderclouds. Lightning flashes illuminating the object in her hands, your shell. A hand clamps onto your wrist. It's the Caraca, his face grim. You're with the road crews now. We leave in an hour. As you're dragged away, the last thing you see is the Coya pressing the shell to her forehead, like it holds all the Empire's secrets. The rain has turned the Imperial Road into a muddy ribbon as your work crew trudges toward the next valley. You've been assigned to the Chasqui resupply team, restocking way stations with dried fish, chuno, and bundles of coca leaves wrapped in banana leaves. Think of it as the Inca version of a highway rest stop vending machine. Your sandals squelch with every step. The Caraca marches ahead, barking orders over his shoulder. Watch for landslides. Tighten those straps. And if you value your teeth, don't eat the emergency rations. Halfway up a slippery slope, the line halts abruptly. A landslide has buried a section of the path under rubble. As workers begin clearing stones, you notice something strange. One of the rocks isn't a rock at all. It's a quipu, a buried quipu, its cords crusted with dirt, but still intact. You discreetly pocket it, feeling the knots like braille. Historians would kill for this, a primary source, literally dug up from the earth. The crew presses onward, reaching a tambo as dusk falls. Inside, the air smells of smoked meat and wet wool. You're about to unroll your sleeping mat when a Chasqui stumbles in, gasping. His message sends the room into chaos. The Sapa Inca is coming back this way tonight. The Caraca pales. Why? His schedule said he's chasing a sign. The runner interrupts. A lightning-struck mall tree near Huancavelica. The priests say it's shaped like Veracacha's staff. Divine intervention or weird tree growth. Scholars still debate. You volunteer for firewood. Dudian, excuse. To examine the buried quipu, in private. Outside, moonlight filters through the mist as you trace the knots. 3 tight knots on a black cord, 7 spaced knots on a red corda. Single frayed knot on a yellow cord bee. For you can decipher more. A shadow falls across the cords. The Coya stands before you, her travel cloak, damp with dew. You're terrible at hiding, she says, plucking the quipu from your hands. Her fingers dance over the knots, then freeze. This is a death count. A chill runs down your spine. 3 executed. Nobles, 7 missing Akla, and 1. She hesitates on the yellow cord. 1 poisoned messenger. The wind howls through the pass like a warning. Somewhere in the darkness, a conch shell sounds. The Sapa Inca's party is closer than anyone thought. The Coya presses the quipu back. Into your hands, burn it, she orders. Then, softer, or learn to read it properly. As she melts back into the night, you're left with a choice: play courier or play corpse. The conch shell blasts grow louder as you scramble back inside the tambo, the stolen quipu burning a hole in your belt pouch. Around you, workers rush to prepare for the Sapa Inca's unscheduled arrival, sweeping floors, stoking fires, and hiding half-chewed charqui behind their backs. The Karaka grabs your arm, his fingers digging in like pincers. You take these to the royal quarters. He shoves a basket of coca leaves and a polished bronze mirror into your hands. And if you drop anything, I'll personally throw you off Huayna Picchu. Note to self: Inca middle management has always been intense. You're ushered into a small side chamber where the Coya is directing servants to arrange fur blankets and light kiru cups of fragrant resin. She doesn't acknowledge you until you accidentally place the mirror beside her. Your reflection shows what she can't say aloud. The quipu is still in your possession. Her eyes flicker. A servant bumps into you, and suddenly there's a folded-lipped lime powder pouch in your palm. The Coya turns away, but not before you catch her whisper, for the mirror's edge. Historical hack. Lime powder reveals secret messages on metal surfaces. Chaos erupts outside, shouts. Running feet, the jingle of metal ornaments. The Sapa Inca has arrived. Through the doorway, you glimpse him striding past, his golden mascapicha headpiece gleaming. He's not alone. Flanking him are 2 men in feathered ancas de Quito. Delegation. One holds a staff carved with a lightning bolt motif. The other has yellow-stained fingertips. Remember the poisoned messenger, not Yayu. Duck behind a tapestry as they enter the adjacent chamber. Through the thin wall, you catch snippets. The northern valleys rebel, not just potatoes missing from the Caucasus. Chapcha cannot hide this. A servant enters your room to fetch the coca basket. You seize your chance, sprinkling lime powder along the mirror's rim before handing it over. Moments later, a shout echoes from next door. The Sapa Inca's voice rings out. Who prepared this? Your blood turns to ice. Then dash laughter. Clever, the ruler muses. The reflection shows what the eyes miss. Turns out, lime powder on a mirror, under torchlight reveals. Hidden, ink on the Quito delegate's hands. Boots, stomp. The Quito men protest, as guards seize them. The Coya appears in the doorway, her face unreadable. She presses something into your palm, a tiny gold bead. For quick thinking, she says. Then, lower. Now run before they ask who touched the mirror. You don't need telling twice as you slip into the night. 2 thoughts chase you. You just helped thwart a coup. No one will ever believe this. The mountain air bites your lungs as you flee into the darkness, the gold bead clenched in your fist like a stolen secret. Behind you, the tambo erupts into controlled chaos, guards shouting. Torches flaring, the rhythmic thud of imperial justice being served. Let's just say the Quito delegation's return trip just got shorter. You follow a goat path upward, where the thin air slows pursuit. Dawn finds you shivering beside a glacial stream, washing lime powder from your hands. That's when you see Itachaski trail marker carved with 3 symbols. Serpent maze, water, Inca road signs, part emoji, part ancient GPS. The serpent points northeast toward Pisac, the agricultural testing grounds. The maze symbol suggests provisions available. The water, that's the real message. Follow the irrigation. Channels. You're halfway to the first terrace when a familiar voice hisses from the bushes. Took you long enough. The Coya's personal attendant, girl no older than 12, with cheeks stained purple from a rampo dimerge, holding a bundle. Inside, a commoner's tunic, a bag of chuno, and your shell, now threaded onto a cord. She says you are to watch the fields at Pisac. The girl recites. Count the maize varieties. Remember which plots have purple stalks. She hesitates, then adds, and if captured, swallow the shell. Because nothing says top secret mission like jewelry you can digest in an emergency. The journey takes 3 days. You pass a herbalist collecting maca roots, who insists you rub some on your temples. For the dreams a blind potter, molding clay with his toes, who accurately describes your stolen quipu. Despite never seeing Llama herder, whose animals refuse to step on a particular patch of road, later revealed to hide a collapsed tunnel, Pisac's terraces unfold like a giant green staircase to heaven. Here, the Incas engineered microclimates by adjusting stonework angles to trap sunlight. The result? Over 2,000 experimental crop varieties in one valley. Take that, Monsanto. Your contact is a sun-wizened gardener, missing 2 fingers frostbite, not punishment. He shows you the purple plots, maize with strangely mottled kernels. There, Quito's gift to us. He spits, grows fast, yields much, and makes rats sterile. The horrifying math clicks. Tainted maize gives fewer rodents, gives less food for predators, gives ecosystem collapse bonus. Any empire feeding this to childbearing Akla would face a population adjustment as you record the plot locations on a knotted cord. Your new resume. Imperial agriculture spy. Movement catches your eye. A figure in a feathered cloak moves through the terraces below. Not just any figure, the Quito princess. She's placing something small and metallic at the base of each purple stalk. The attendant tugs your sleeve urgently. Time to go, but the real question lingers. Is this biological warfare? Or just really aggressive crop rotation? The gold bead weighs heavy in your palm as you disappear into the maze of Pisac's terraces. Dawn is still hours away, but the mountains hum with unseen activity, whistled signals echoing between watchtowers. The occasional thump of a messenger's footfall on the royal road below. You press yourself against a stone retaining wall, listening. The Quito princess moves like shadow through the maize fields, her feathered cloak catching moonlight in silver ripples. Every few steps, she pauses to press one of those mysterious metal objects into the soil. Fun fact, Inca agricultural sabotage involved. More metallurgy than you'd expect. A hand clamps over your mouth. You nearly bite through a calloused palm. Before recognizing the Coya's attendant, the girl with the rampa-stained cheeks. She drags you behind a granary and produces 2 items from her sash. A slingshot tay pouch of Stinkberry's local name, Soput del Diablo. Her plan is terrifyingly simple. You distract the princess by pelting her with rotten-smelling berries. She will swap the metal objects with identical-looking lead tokens. Ancient espionage, 101. When in doubt, throw smelly fruit and run. The first berry hits the princess square in the back. It bursts with a sound like a wet sneeze, releasing a stench somewhere between rancid cheese and dead fish. She whirls around. You hit her again. Splat, right on the feathered headdress, as she gags and claws at her face. The attendant darts forward, making the switch. The whole operation takes 12 seconds. Modern equivalent, a Navy SEAL extraction with worse aromatherapy. You're about to retreat when fate intervenes as Strayberry rolls downhill, bouncing off stones until it lands, with a plop at the feet of a very awake, very irritated quipu keeper. His nose wrinkles. His eyes narrow. He sees you. The attendant yanks you sideways into an irrigation channel. Freezing water swallows you whole as the tunnel's current sucks you downward. You tumble through darkness, knees scraping stone, the stolen quipu threatening to float away from your belt. Just as your lungs scream for air, the channel spits you out into a moonlit reservoir. You surface gasping directly beside a fishing raft, where Apu Quilla sits calmly untangling a net. Took you long enough, he says, as if you'd scheduled this watery rendezvous. Behind you, shouts echo from the terraces. Torches converge. On the irrigation outlet, The old astronomer sighs. Hold your breath again. He tips the raft as you sink into the frigid depths for the second time in 5 minutes. One thought surfaces. This is why historians never found Inca spies. They all drowned on the job. You burst through the water's surface with a gasp, only to be yanked under the fishing raft by Apu Quilla's surprisingly strong grip. The aged astronomer presses a hollow reed into your hand's Inca snorkel technology at its finest before motioning for silence. Above the distorted shadows of pursuers, crisscross the reservoir's edge. Pro tip: when hiding from Imperial guards, remember, they rarely check under floating things. The reed tastes like old algae. The water feels like liquid ice. But the real discomfort comes when something nibbles your toes. Trophy fish raised exclusively for temple offerings. One particularly bold Suha catfish mistakes your pinky toe for a worm. Scholars still debate whether the Incas practiced pisciculture. That catfish was definitely cultured. After an eternity of trembling submersion, the torches retreat. You and Apu Quilla paddle to a rechoked bank, where the attendant waits with dry blankets and bad news. The swapped metal tokens were mercury capsules designed to poison soil. Quito Princess has vanished into the sacred valley so unburned. Your sleeping mat back at camp. Passive-aggressive Inca message. Don't come back, Apu. Quilla produces a quipu from his sodden robe, this one with black cords knotted in groups of 5. The Coya needs you at Ollantaytambo, he says. The storehouses. There hold something, ... Unexpected. The attendant hands you a pilgrim's disguise. A itchy wool mantle, authentically scratchy. A gourd full of sanqui, roadside hallucinogen, for spiritual travelers, a lomelish, with one end chewed off because nothing says harmless pilgrim-like. A drugged wanderer with poor animal control. The journey takes 2 days. You pass a coca-chewing bridgekeeper who lets you cross after you compliment his eyebrow-piercing herd of vikicas that follow you for miles. Turns out they like sanqui fumes, a blind minstrel singing about the emperor's new gold, insuspicious. Detalantitum's storehouses loom like giant stone beehives. The Coya meets you in the shadow of a half-built pyramid, her face lit by a single oil lamp. Without ceremony, she leads you to a sealed chamber and the Empire's best-kept secret. Potatoes, but not just any potatoes. Blue ones, not just blue. Glowing faintly in the dark. Cue dramatic pause. The Coya explains in hushed tones. Grown from Quito's gift seeds, but crossbred with mountain lichens tested on prisoners. They reported vivid dreams, but no sterility, now being cultivated as night vision rations for Chasqui Runner's ancient biotech at its finest. You're reaching for one when the door slams open. A breathless messenger blurts. The Sapa Inca is here. He demands to see the ghost potatoes. The Coya doesn't hesitate. She shoves a glowing tuber into your hands. Eat it now. As the royal entourage's torchlight floods the chamber, you realize 3 things. The potato tastes like wet chalk and lightning. Your fingertips are now bioluminescent. This is either a promotion or the weirdest execution method in Andean history. Asterisk. The bioluminescent potato sits heavy in your stomach as torchlight floods the storehouse. The Sapa Inca strides forward, his golden mascapicia headpiece casting flickering shadows across sacks of glowing tubers. His eyes lock onto your neon blue fingertips. Historical first. The world's earliest documented case of snack-induced glow-in-the-dark syndrome. The Coya steps between you, her voice smooth as polished obsidian. My lord, this pilgrim accidentally ingested one of the test crops. A murmur ripples through the royal entourage. The Sapa Inca's gaze doesn't waver. Can he see in the dark now? Before you can answer, a priest interrupts, the same one who earlier chanted over lightning trees. He snatches your wrist, examining the luminescence. The gods have marked him, he declares. Just like the Quiller stars in the Milky Way. Scholars still debate whether this was divine intervention or just really aggressive potato breeding. The Sapa Inca nods once. Then he will join the Chasquis running the night routes. And just like that, promoted to Imperial Courier. The attendant appears with your new uniform. A black unku better for stealth, a llama leather headband holds glow in the dark. Lichen for map reading, a cocoa pouch laced with something that makes your tongue numb. Asterisk, Ancient performance-enhancing drugs. 100% organic. 0 FDA approval. Asterisk, you're given one test mission. Carry a sealed quipu to Vitkos before dawn. The route takes you along a narrow cliffside trail, where the stars are your only guide. Halfway there, your potato-enhanced vision reveals something. Terrifying, the path ahead is washed out. A recent landslide has left a gaping hole where the road should be. Normally, this would mean turning back. But the quipu at your belt holds tax records from 3 provinces and the Sapa Inca hates excuses. Inca logistics rule number 1. Dead messengers. Don't file complaints. You're weighing your odds when movement catches your eye. A chasqui from the opposite direction approaches, leaping the gap with practiced ease. He lands beside you, panting. First time. You nod. He grins, teeth flashing in the dark. Follow my feet exactly. What happens next defies physics. You take a running start toward the abyss. The veteran chasqui hurls a stone ahead of you. Your glowing fingers grab an invisible ropa, nearly transparent Llama down bridge, forgotten Inca engineering. Suspension bridges, made from animal fibers that tighten when weighted. You tumble onto solid ground, heart pounding. The other runner slaps your back. They never check the old routes anymore. Then he's gone into the night, his sandals barely whispering against stone. The rest of the journey passes in a blur of adrenaline and glowing fingertips. You deliver the quipu, as roosters crow in Vitkos, earning a nod from the local CURACA. But as you collapse onto a sleeping mat, one question lingers. Did the potato give you night vision? Or did you just hallucinate that entire bridge? The morning sun burns away the last traces of bioluminescence from your fingers as you stagger into Vitkos' messenger quarters. A grizzled chasqui captain thrusts a steaming cup into your hands, something bitter and caffeinated that makes your eyelid twitch. Drink, then run again, he grunts. You're about to protest when a commotion erupts outside. The Quito princess, the one who poisoned the crops, has been captured trying to flee, disguised as a Coya attendant. But here's the twist. She's demanding to speak with you, because apparently, you're now the Inca Empire's unofficial diplomat for rogue princesses. Guards drag you to a stone storeroom, where the princess sits bound with vicuna wool cords, soft but unbreakable. Up close, you notice her feathered cloak hides needle-thin blades woven into the trim. Her earlobes are stretched around golden discs engraved with antshey. Smells like burnt honey and lightning. Archaeologists would have a field day with this woman. She leans forward. Tell your Sapa Inca this. My father sent me to rot his empire from the roots, but I found something worse growing here. Before she can elaborate, the captain interrupts her, being summoned back to Cusco immediately. The reason? The ghost potatoes have started singing. Asterisk, the return journey to Cusco is a blur of pounding footsteps and increasingly bizarre. Rumors pass between chasqui stations. The singing potatoes allegedly hum in 4-part harmonies. Several temple priests have joined the chorus. Mid-ritual Llama was seen conducting them with its ears. Inca history rarely mentions this incident. Coincidence? Probably not. You arrive to find the imperial gardens in chaos. The glowing tubers have been moved to a circular stone chamber normally used for drying meat, now functioning as the world's first root vegetable opera house. Through the doorway, you catch a haunting melody that sounds suspiciously like a Quechua nursery rhyme. The Coya intercepts you, her usual composure fraying. They only sing when the Colca guards aren't watching, she whispers, and they're getting louder. Apu Quilla pushes forward, his astronomer's cloak smudged with dirt. It's the lichen crossbreeding, he insists. Those Quito seeds reacted with our highland fungi to create thunk. A single potato rolls from the chamber and lands at your feet. It pulses faintly. Then, in a voice like wind through reeds, it whispers, ... the tunnels, ... At this point, even the Sapa Inca's pet llama looks concerned. Asterisk. Dawn finds you kneeling beside a nondescript stone in the Coricanch's outer wall, exactly where the singing potato instructed. The Coya and Apu Quilla flank you as you press your still faintly glowing palm against the masonry with a groan of ancient mechanisms. The slab pivots inward. Cold air rushes out, carrying the scent of fermented chicha, enough to intoxicate. Village burnt feathers, the expensive blue and gold kind. Something alarmingly metallic. The tunnel beyond slopes sharply downward. Its walls lined with quipu cords that vibrate faintly as if transmitting messages from deep below. Apu Quilla traces one with trembling fingers. This isn't Inca. This is older. Much older. The Coya lights a torch. Then we'll add exploring forgotten civilizations to today's schedule. As you descend, the vibrations intensify. The tunnel opens into a cavern where hundreds of singing potatoes dangle from the ceiling on silver threads, glowing like bioluminescent chandeliers. Beneath them sprawls a sight that stops your breath, a stone map of South America but with continents. Shifted clay jars labeled in no known language and, at the center, a quipu the size of a house, its knots forming a perfect fractal pattern. The Coya inhales sharply. This is why the Quito princess was really sent. Not to poison crops to find this. Apu Quilla steps forward, his shadow stretching across the giant quipu. The question isn't who built it. The question is, the potatoes suddenly swell into a deafening chorus. The ground trembles. Dust showers from the ceiling as the giant quipu begins untying itself. Because apparently, sentient, not mathematics, are today's problem. The Coya grabs your arm. Run. You're halfway up the tunnel when the first potato explodes in a shower of blue sparks. The last thing you see before the entrance seals itself is Apu Quilla grinning like a madman snatching a fistful of glowing lichen from the wall. Then darkness, sunlight, birdsong back in Cusco's main plaza. Everything appears normal for two details. Every dog in the city is howling in perfect pitch. The Sapa Inca's Llama is wearing Apu Quilla's cloak. The Coya straightens her tunic with eerie calm. We never speak of this. As you nod agreement, something in your pocket squirms. You pull out a single surviving potato sprout. It giggles. Good luck sleeping tonight.